쭉 머금고 있다면 그건 어떤 울림이 생긴 Assalamualaikum and hi everyone, this is Shaida, your host signing in. Thanks for tuning in to episode 1 of season 2, the Shaida Effect podcast. With me today is my old mate from Shalom's Academy, Ayesha Ali. We are inspired to invite her on today's episode as she is the epitome of living life to the fullest and unapologetically. So let's welcome Ayesha. Hello.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
So,
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
so Ayesha, can you introduce yourself to our listeners, please?
Of course, my name, like Shaida said, is Aisha Ali. I'm 23. I'm from Glasgow. I still live in Glasgow. I'm the oldest sister of four sisters and two brothers. I'm married and I have a dog called Bella. And yeah, that's it.
What are you currently doing?
So I currently work in a co-op, which is like a wee supermarket. I was studying and I got my degree in social sciences. And when the pandemic hit, I didn't really fancy doing my master's degree from home, just because it was so hectic and stuff. So I just wanted to work and earn some money and like focus on moving out because we were still living with my mum. So yeah, I actually want to go back to uni next year and I'm going to do primary teaching, hopefully. But yeah, right now just working in co-op.
That sounds like a good plan, you know? And
Yeah, it took me a while.
what are you planning to study actually next year?
I'm not sure. Like, I really want to go to like Glasgow or Strathclyde or something in Glasgow, definitely, because for my undergraduate degree, I went to west of Scotland, but it was based in Hamilton. So I was traveling like 14 miles every time I had to go to class, and it was too much. Like, I don't
Oh,
drive,
oh,
so
I see. Oh, I thought it was.
so
Oh, I
yeah.
thought you studied in Glasgow. Oh, it was
No,
quite
not
far.
the first time. I went to college for 2 years and then went to uni for 2 years, and I just didn't get accepted anywhere. And I don't know if it's because obviously I was coming from college, but it was okay. I was happy though. I enjoyed uni and I was really happy to, obviously get there and stuff. So I didn't mind it.
That's great. Okay, so now let's get on with our
Yeah,
questions. So before
get
we
to
get
it.
into the deeds, let's talk about the concept of soulmate. So in the Quran, right? There's this ayat from Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat 187.
Hmm.
It says, "Hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasul lahunna," which means your women are clothing for you and you are the clothing for them, which just means you are garments to each other. And I find it so beautiful, because even in the Quran, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned like this concept of soulmate, right?
Yeah.
So before you meet Seth, right, your husband, do you believe in it, this concept of soulmate? What were your thoughts on it?
I definitely did. I was very romantic, like my whole life. I've been very into like true love, soulmates. And am I right in saying like your soul is like your nur, like that's Allah's light in you? And I've always thought like your soulmate would be the person that makes that shine, that makes you glow. And I was very romantic, so I did definitely believe in it. But I also was a little bit skeptical of like, well, why would you meet your soulmate down the street from you? What are the chances that it would be someone so nearby? But it was definitely something I believed in.
That's really cool. So has your perception on that concept changed these days?
Um, it's changed in the sense, I guess, it's gotten stronger, but it has changed because I would say I think now I believe that your soul can be very compatible with someone or be drawn to someone, but that's not all it takes, obviously. Um, you can have soulmates with friends, with family, with romantic relationships, and I think I've learned the value of that a lot as well, because obviously people just put so much focus on a partner, a life
Yeah,
partner, but
yeah, definitely.
I, I think that you should definitely be around people that are good for your soul. And I do think that that's what soulmate should be, that someone romantic that is good for your soul and is very compatible with. But you have to feel it in that, not just in a compatible you get along, like that spiritual, deeper level that you should know that that's the other half of your deen and all that.
That's actually really beautiful. Like I really like that you mentioned that usually people just focus on the soulmate, the kind of relationship like between partners, when
Mhm.
actually it's also a relationship with your family, your friends. That can be like some kind of soulmate level relationship
Yeah.
as well, right? So we all love a good old love story. So how did you and Seth meet? Like what attracted you to each other?
So we actually met in school.
Mm-hmm.
We were both 13. I'm actually 5 months older than Seth, but I mean, I'm telling everyone, but so I was a year above him in school. So we never really had classes together, but we always shared friend groups. So we ended up being like the best of friends. And as soon as I met him, though, I just was like, I just wanted to be around him. I don't know, there was something about him that was so like magnetic, and I just never met anyone that I had felt so like excited about. Like, I don't know, I just thought he was so funny, and just everything he said I just thought was like great. Like, it was so cheesy, but I was properly like struck by him. But we were just friends, like nothing ever um was discussed further. We were just friends, and that was fine. And then that lasted for years and years and years until we were 16. And everyone used to always say to us, like, oh, you two are going to get married, you two are going out. And we were like, no, we're not. We're genuinely just friends. We don't want anything like deeper than that. But then around when we turned like 15, 16, we kind of realized that no, there are some feelings there, and just kind of discussed it more. And then we ended up being in a relationship in December 2013.
Wow, that's amazing. Because, like, how did you actually realize that? Like to have that kind of connection is really beautiful. So when did
It was,
you? Yeah, yeah.
sorry,
Sorry.
go on. No, sorry. No, I'm just gonna say it was. Yeah, no, it was just so different. I think that's what kind of struck me just straight away, that it was just a different relationship, even just as friends. We used to all say, oh, we're best friends, but like we really were. Like, we were really best friends for years before it ever went into a relationship, and I think that that helps.
So you do have like male best friends, right? But what exactly differentiates those best friends with Seth?
Like, so yeah, that's a great example. Like, I've always had male best friends, and I've had some that I've had since before Seth as well, and it just never felt like deep. We would talk about things, but it would just never be, it would just more maybe be at a surface level, or even if it was, it just, I don't know, I never felt that butterflies way about them. Like, I wasn't excited maybe to spend all my time with them. I wouldn't prioritize time with them over other people. It would just be a really casual thing. But when I became friends with Seth, we used to make plans. We used to go out of our way to hang out. We would go to lunch together and talk in the corridors. And it was just, we made a lot more effort, I think, to maintain the friendship. Whereas other friends were maybe more casual, or I don't know, I just didn't feel it.
That's interesting. So when did you both decide to tie the knot? Like, because you guys made the effort to like make the friendship works, right? Like it's not as casual as with other friends. Like what
Yeah.
what actually triggers that moment of like, he's the one, if there is such feeling, do you think?
For me, I would say when we started like an actual relationship when we were 16, I knew like I was in it for the long run, just because I couldn't imagine my life being better without him, or I couldn't imagine my life just without him, full stop. Like, he just became so much of my daily life and daily thoughts. And so for me, I knew straight away like we were in it. For Seth, obviously he was 16, so he was like not thinking marriage at that age. He would always just laugh and say, I'm too young, I'm too young. And then there was this moment when he turned like 19, which is still so young, where he was like, we should get married soon. And I was like, why? What's changed? And he just, I don't know. It's like he grew up overnight, where he just kind of had this focus to work towards this future for us. And he was just so, so sure of it. And he went home, and like his family always knew about me. They always knew I existed. They always knew my name. But he went home and was like, no, I want to get married and stuff, and was taking it very seriously. So that was like, it genuinely felt overnight. I don't know what. I've asked him like what changed, what triggered it, and he's like, I just knew, like, I genuinely don't know from his side at all. But I did, yeah. I'm glad he did though.
Yeah, that was very responsible of him, to be honest. Like, because usually
Yeah,
most
because
people just like, yeah, let's not take it to the next level. Let's just
yeah, but
remain
I
as it
think
is.
that for him, it was like he didn't want to be seen as messing around. He wanted
Mm,
people to like obviously respect us as a couple, as a married couple. We wanted to be halal. Like that's, that was a big, we wanted to be seen as legitimate by everyone, every religion, every way. It was too long of just being casual, I think. Um and also we were not getting older, but for me, like I always wanted to get married young. So for me, I was like, this is fine, this is great timing.
That's like a dream come true.
I really,
Yeah.
honestly, I was so like I was so happy when he started taking, not that he was ever messing around, he was always serious about us, but just when started talking about marriage and involving the family and stuff, like that was just so exciting for me. It really was. We just wanted to spend all of our time together. I think that's the main, that was it. We wanted to be serious and spend all of our time together because we were just, it was, you don't want to not spend time with your family because you're spending time with like a boyfriend or something. That doesn't feel right. You would
Yeah.
rather have your husband spending time with your family all together. That's
Yeah.
what we wanted. So that's
Yeah.
why we made the moves.
I think it's also because of both of your intentions, that's why Allah made it easier for it to be halal, something
I
like
think a
that.
lot of people have said that, and it does. It feels so good. It really does because there's been a lot of like struggles in both of our lives individually, but with marriage and with finding each other, it has been just such a straight road for me. And I found like for some people that's the hardest thing, but for me, I found it so young, and I just feel so lucky. Like it's unreal. Some like it sounds so cheesy, but like we've been together for 8 years, and it still just feels so unreal.
Ah, that's so sweet.
I feel so emotional. Sorry.
That was okay. So, you know how the topic marriage is actually quite difficult for some of us, some young people, our age, to
Mhm.
bring up to our parents. So, was it easy for you both to bring that up? No.
Um, so with my mum, as
Uh-huh.
you know, like a mixed race. So my mum is Scottish, so she always knew about Seth. She loved him as a son from very early. She was very accepting. So when I told her, we've got a very good relationship, and she trusted my decision, and she knew if it was going to make me happy that she would support it. So I was very lucky with my mum. With my dad, he didn't know Seth existed. He
Oh.
didn't know anything. He knew I had a friend called Seth, and that was about it. But so I actually told my popo first, my dad's sister, and I said to her, someone wants to marry me, and I want to tell my dad, but I don't know how. So she invited me over, like I came over, we had dinner, I spoke to her, then I spoke to my gran, then they invited my dad over. Um, so my gran, I didn't know this, but my gran actually told my dad before when I wasn't in the room. She kind of gave him a warning of what I was going to talk about, which I didn't know that. So I came through shaking, and I was like, Dad, I need to tell you something. And I was like, I literally said it like someone wants to marry me because I was trying to act like I didn't do anything. Like someone else wants to marry me. Um, and he just said, okay. And I burst out crying. Like I just didn't expect him to not question it. And I just gave him a hug, and we just kind of cried. Well, he didn't cry, but I cried for a while. And he was like, we'll go and we'll sort it out with your family and blah blah blah. And he started making plans straight away and asking me like, what do I want? And I was just so shocked by that, just because I knew I was 20 by that point, but I'm still young, and I was in university, but I hadn't graduated yet, so I just wasn't sure how he would respond. For Seth, his mum always knew about me, and she was genuinely grateful that we were gonna make it serious, official, halal, because she was never, understandably, like I fully understand, but she was never fully comfortable with us dating, which Muslim mother, I get that. So she was grateful. She was happy. I think at first we weren't sure if we were gonna like get a nikah and still just live with our own parents and just
Mm-hmm.
kind of wait a few more years before we moved in together. But then after time, we decided like that was the best route. So it was just kind of getting to that point that was tricky. But telling our parents was thankfully, alhamdulillah, like quite good.
That's alhamdulillah, very good. Yeah.
I think being honest is my best advice to anyone that would ever. It's hard, and obviously sometimes you have to not tell
Mm-hmm.
the full truth. I understand that, but just being honest about your intentions, because if your parents are Muslim and have those beliefs, then they'll be so grateful that you're marrying one, a Muslim, two, that you're taking your life seriously, that you want to settle down. Because any parent would rather that than
Mm-hmm.
something bad happening to you, or,
Mm-hmm.
teen pregnancies and other scary things. Like they would always rather you were wanting to settle. I believe that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Especially like for Muslim parents, right? They would obviously,
Mhm.
yeah, like as you said about that. So, yeah, even I feel a bit skeptical about marriage, especially, in my country, like you have to be like, there's a lot of obstacles before you reach to that stage, that marriage thing.
Mhm.
Like for us, we have
Mhm.
to be financially stable, and whatnot. Do you guys worry about such stuff, you and Seth?
I really did. I was terrified about money just because I was working in the co-op
Mm-hmm.
and Steph was still a student. He was working as well, but he was a student. So I did worry, but then we ended up staying with my mum for 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
which was obviously a huge financial help. She helped us so much by just letting us live there.
Mm-hmm.
We did obviously pay for things, help with bills, pay for food, stuff like that, but we had the chance to save that way.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, though, when we moved out on our own, I was still scared about money and stuff. But Steph's one of those people that, like, if I ask, he'll explain to me like, this is where money goes, this is how this works. But he just can say to me like, don't worry about it. I know what's going on. And I feel safe enough that I can trust him that he would never abuse our finances. He would never make us, nothing like that. I can fully trust him. Like, I know where our money goes. I know how much money I have, to spend on this, that, the next thing myself. And I do just kind of leave that up to him. Like he graduated and stuff, now he just works.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very lucky in that sense that I don't think too much about when things are due and this and that. Like, but yeah. It is scary though, because you do panic. You obviously think how much do you, because I don't like to work full time. And not that I don't like to, I kind of struggle to work full time. um and I thought I would have to. I thought I'd be 40 hours a week and feeling really unwell and stuff like that. But thankfully I've not had to do anything too crazy. So it's been
Alhamdulillah.
good.
That's amazing. Like it's just amazing like how things are made easier for people who have the right intention. Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
do believe that. I
Mm-hmm.
really do believe, like, I have become so much more religious and aware of just how like blessed I actually am. Like I struggled a lot and I didn't know I was struggling, and that's the weirdest thing.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me this clarity that I didn't even know I needed.
Mm-hmm. In what sense would you like to
Like,
elaborate?
Um, just that way where you pray for things your whole life, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, when you actually start to work towards them, and
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden you have this help, and you don't know where this help is coming from, and then you're like, well, no, it's God,
Mm-hmm.
it's everything you prayed for, and it's everything that it's hard to accept that you deserve it. That was my
Mm-hmm.
biggest thing. Whenever good things were happening for us,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I didn't deserve it. I felt guilty. I struggled to feel. I felt so happy, and then I would feel bad for feeling happy. And then I was like, I had a friend who said to me like, "But you deserve it. You've prayed for this. You know, it's just it's your time. It's
Mm-hmm.
that's what they say though. It happens when it's meant to. I believe that every single thing is written, and that's what I believed about Seth too, and with soulmates and stuff. If it was meant to be, it was always meant to be, and I'm just so grateful because nothing confirms. Obviously, you have to believe in God in the good times, the bad times, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think it reaffirms it when you have struggled for so long, and then you get so many blessings at once.
Yeah. And it feels
But yeah,
so,
just
so beautiful, isn't it?
yeah, and I realized like, well, sometimes you feel helpless, but I was like, well, I'm not. Like, I actually now just pray a lot more than I ever did. I used to pray a lot when I was younger, and then I went through a couple of years where I just kind of felt a bit disillusioned by I just thought I was maybe doing it more out of a superstitious kind of reason rather than true faith. So I thought, no, I'm not going to pray every single day if I'm only doing it because I think something bad will happen if I don't. I only want to pray when I genuinely feel that calling. So it completely changed my relationship because I think I was doing it for the right reasons then. And that's when I just noticed kind of my life started to get a bit clearer and a bit happier. But I still struggle, of course. I'm not completely, I'm not all the way there.
Yeah. Yeah, we all struggle actually with faith, especially. So I kind of get like some idea on how you feel after marriage, but just for the sake of the question, like, do you do you feel your life has changed? And if it does it? Do you feel it is becoming better or the other way around?
It's definitely better. It taught me so much like responsibility. I actually like had this conversation with my sister
Uh
where
huh.
I wanted to like not like apologize to my mum because now that I run my own house,
Uh huh.
I understand exactly. And she has 5 children. Like, never mind. I'm doing this with just a dog here. There's no children. Um, and it's amazing, like it really really is, and I just wanted to like apologize to her that, oh my goodness, how did you do all that, and I should have helped so much more. But I didn't feel like, as soon as I moved in, I just felt so enabled and so able to do things that before sometimes I would be anxious, or I don't know. And Seth always says, like, "Well, what are you anxious for? You're my wife." And it's so cheesy, but like it helps because I feel like, well, it's true. Like, I've got that kind of backup. Even when he's not with me, I've kind of got him in my head encouraging me. Well, it's for my house, so of course I can run to the shops and pick up a couple of things. Whereas before, going to the shops would maybe be a bit scary for me. I mean, Um, but yeah, no, I do. I feel like a proper like adult, which I didn't expect I would feel like a shit. I'm not an adult, but I feel a lot closer to being an adult. I felt like a kid before, and I didn't realize that. I thought I felt very mature. Um, but it's yeah, definitely changed for the better.
This question might be out of topic, but you mentioned just now that you are the eldest, right? How
I've
how
got one older sister actually, but
uh,
like she's married with children and happy, so it's kind of more just like I do feel like the oldest.
so how does it feel to be the eldest? Because I am the eldest as well, and just now you mentioned about like being married and staying away from family makes you feel like apologizing to your mom, and I kind of
Yeah.
relate to that a bit because like you know it's hard to explain, right? Like yeah,
Yeah, like when I
yeah.
moved out, I felt like I was abandoning her.
Uh-huh.
I felt like something terrible was going to happen to her. I used to phone her every single morning. I used to cry because in the morning, usually I would spend time with her and my baby sister. My sister's only 2.5 now, but she was obviously a baby when we first got married. So I felt so guilty. It was really stressful and scary for me. But my mum never ever made me feel that way. She always reassured me that she was going to be fine and that I was an adult. I could do what I want. It was time. I was married. Of course, I could move out. Like, it was never a question. But of course, as the oldest, I think you feel so much responsibility. You feel so protective. You you really want to kind of just take your mum's burden away. You want to help your siblings as much as you can. And sometimes you put that before yourself and
Yeah.
before, your own needs. And it's such a difficult balance. And I think being married, that's one thing I've not struggled with, but finding that balance between helping my family, not helping them, but just wanting to help them and be around them all the time and missing them. And obviously being someone's wife and running a house, and I want to spend all my time with all of them. Like, it's difficult. There's not enough hours in the day, but I miss my mum. Not as much. Like, I've lived here for 6 months now, 7 months actually. So it's not. I don't cry anymore, but I do miss her. But she used to live quite far away, like an hour-long bus, and she
Oh.
recently moved just like 10 minutes down the street. So
Oh. So
I'm
yeah, you can
so
just
happy. Like I can just walk down the street and it's so good because before I would have to dedicate a full day to seeing her, but now I
Oh,
can just see her for half an hour, then go home, and it just gives me so much more time. So I'm already feeling like, yeah, that's another kind of thing that's helped a lot.
that's amazing. Yeah.
It really has been. I'm so excited she lives here now.
So now let's talk about your identity as a mixed race, right? You see,
Yeah.
when I first met you as a classmate, like remember we sat in front of each other in Mr. Ahmed's class in maths.
Yes. Aww.
I honestly thought you were white until I learned of your
Yeah.
until I learned of your name, and I was like legit so confused. Like, is she like what?
Yeah, that happens to so many people. Like, especially now I'm married, people think that I am white and I just converted for marriage. And
Uh
I'm
huh.
like,
No.
I was like, no, I'm actually mixed race. That was my name before. So yeah, it's hard. It's one of those things where as a child, I guess I felt like quite out of place. Like
Mhm.
I was never Pakistani enough for the Pakistani side. I
Mhm.
was never white enough for the white side because I
Mhm.
just kind of I would like certain things from both cultures. And also I wasn't fully like educated on
Mhm.
things on both cultures, so there would be this kind of gap in my knowledge where I would stick out either way.
Mhm.
Um, but I do as I grew up and like in college, whenever we done our graded unit assessments, and in
Mhm.
university when I done my dissertation, I actually done it on topics related to being mixed race,
Uh-huh.
just because it gave me a chance to read about other people's experiences a lot more and ask myself questions I'd never really asked before,
Mhm.
and just kind of explore what it meant a little bit more. And it made me realize that anything I do
Mhm.
is part of like Pakistani culture.
Mhm.
Just because I'm not half white and half Pakistani, like I'm mixed race, I'm both of those things. I don't need
Mhm.
to be one or the other.
Mhm.
And it's quite difficult to kind of embrace it because it's like you're creating your own culture that's never really existed before because it
Yeah.
is a proper blend of everything I've grown up
Yeah.
with. Like it's so cheesy, but it's like, oh, Eid and Christmas. But like it's people have always said that to me my whole life. Like, oh, you must get everything, and it's hard being mixed race because you do feel that kind of out of place way, and you do, and especially like I look white, as you say. I'm very, very, very white passing, so I have white privilege. People would not. I've never ever had racial abuse. Well, I've had racial abuse, but only because people know that I'm Pakistani, not just racial abuse randomly because someone sees me in the street.
Mhm.
I've never I've never had to experience that, and that is a huge privilege. So I have to obviously recognize that. So
Mhm.
sometimes it is difficult, but I do have it a lot easier.
Mhm.
Um, but no, I do. I think that the world is becoming more mixed race, and people
Yeah.
are going to have to just kind of accept the fact that the culture is on both sides. It's not that just people sometimes think that maybe Pakistani side is a little bit more like difficult because I'm white, but that's
Mhm.
not really the case. Like there's been times where it's been difficult to be Pakistani in a white environment
Mhm.
and I've felt quite out of place. So but I do think that things are changing and getting better. And as I've grown older, I've just become a lot more confident in what it means to be mixed race and in myself. And yeah, I love it
That's
now. It's
great.
like a good thing about it's always been a good thing about myself, but
Mhm.
like now I really, really feel good about it.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, would you like to say anything to, to others who would, at least they would try to understand from your perspective? But as you said, like, we are moving towards a world that is like more accepting. Like our generation is like more accepting of people who are from different backgrounds and are of like mixed races, and we have this like
Yeah.
this online thing. People are becoming more open. So, but what would you say to like these people?
Like definitely Hmm. I would say that like mixed race people existing should never be made to feel like an accident or like a wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that sometimes it's not someone's fault for not knowing something about both of the races that they
Mm-hmm.
are,
Mm-hmm.
because you never know, someone might look a certain way and you expect them to act a certain way, but they
Yeah,
don't know anything
definitely.
about
Yep.
that culture just because of whatever reason. And just kind of not give people a chance, but give people a chance. Like, there's a lot of things even about Pakistani culture and since becoming a wife that I've learned, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know any of this growing up. Because I think obviously my dad is the Pakistani one. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things that maybe a mother would teach you
Mm-hmm.
that I never got taught because my mother wasn't Pakistani.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you're always playing catch up, and
Uh-huh.
people just need to kind of understand that a little bit more. That maybe just let someone know that if they need to know something about their culture,
Mm-hmm.
you can come to them and ask them some questions. Like, I wish someone would say that to me. Here's some tips on how to, you know, I would say families, especially like ethnic families, can be kind of, there's certain rules, there's certain ways to operate, there's certain, you know yourself,
Mm-hmm.
it's culture is very rich,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to learn just by, being thrust into a situation. I think
Yeah.
everyone needs like a big sister they can kind of ask, like, what do I do? What do I do? How do I serve tea? Stuff like that.
So just like people should be more kind, I guess,
More
to everybody.
kind,
Yeah,
and
more
yeah, just
kind.
kind of more open arms, and just be knowledge, like be a source of knowledge for people that maybe
Yeah.
don't have as many like figures at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I hope, yeah, listen, people, we have to be more open and kind. Okay, so last question for tonight. I noticed that sometimes you share some snippets and memories of your grandparents from your mother's side, which I
Yeah.
find very heartwarming, as it also reminds me of my grandmother, Opa. We call her Opa, and
Huh.
yeah, and you're the kind of person that holds your grandparents very close at heart. So, are there any memorable stories of them that you'd like to commemorate here on this episode?
Um, I would love to say that my mum's mum, who I called her my gran,
Uh,
she was like my second mother.
mm-hmm,
I was so, so close to her. I had two younger sisters who were like just very close in age. So
mm-hmm,
my mum would often be maybe busy with them, or, just they were little, they needed her more. I was like 4, 5, 6.
mm-hmm,
So I would just want to stay at my grand's house and I would just spend so much time with her. And she would teach me to bake and cook and read. She would read me books that were like for high school kids when I was like 5 and 6 years old. Like, she taught me how to swim and tie my shoelaces. Like, she was just so, so precious to all of us. Um, I've only actually got one gran left. My ummi, that's my dad's mum. She's my daddy, but we call her ummi, which means mum.
mm-hmm.
And it's just so precious. It's, you never know how quickly they can be taken from you. And I was so lucky I got to meet all four of my grandparents. What a funny story actually, quickly, about my dada. We used
Mm-hmm.
to call him Big Dad, my
Uh-huh.
dad's dad.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why we called him Big Dad. We just always did. Um, my little sister would always say to him, "Do you love me?" Because she just was like that. She was just always asking questions like that. And he would always just kind of ignore it or just grunt. He didn't talk a lot. But one time she asked it, and he said to her, "See, every time you come to the house, is there not bananas on the table?" And she was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Is there not cereal in the cupboard?" And she was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I buy that because I know you're coming and that's your favorite stuff." And it just really touched me because I thought, like, he will never say I love you. He wasn't like that. But
Oh.
it's true. If he knew I was coming to the house, there would be
Mm-hmm.
mangoes, there would be the favorite things, and he just always made that effort, and he would always speak out for the children above anyone else. If he thought the kids were getting treated in a way he didn't like, he would be
Mm-hmm.
like, "That's not fair. Don't
Mm-hmm.
shout at her." And he would always be the first protector of kids. And he passed away in 2013, which was actually the year me and Seth like started taking things more seriously. And I think losing him was really, really difficult. And having Seth through that helped a lot because he was like a proper like head of the family. He had so much love and respect, and yeah, it's just a huge loss. So cherish your grandparents, and I miss them so much. I'll always miss them. You can't replace that feeling.
Yeah.
So I do. I try and share wee stories and pictures whenever I can.
They're really beautiful. I really enjoyed whenever you posted them because
Thank
it
you.
just feels really human, because people these days they just post things that are, well, it's their Instagram, but
Yeah,
sometimes,
but
yeah.
it can be so polished and so it can seem a little bit not sincere. I like to try and be very open and just talk to people as if they're all my friends. And most of the people that follow me are, hopefully they are my friends. I know them personally, and I just want to be myself, because I think when you start to edit yourself too
Mm-hmm.
much,
Mm-hmm.
you feel insecure just sitting in your own skin,
Yeah,
and you don't
yeah,
really know. It's so easy to lose that, especially like with social media being so crazy like these days.
yeah,
um
definitely.
and I used to, when I was younger, let things like that affect me. But that's why I try and, even if I do think, oh, I look a mess, I'm like, okay, so, like, it's just my face. It's I'm not gonna have another face. I might as well just accept it. And people should just, I love to see people being open and honest and share things about their lives and just wee stories about themselves, their family. Like, those are my favorite people to follow on Instagram, because it just feels real. It just feels like hearing a story from a friend, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what it should be about.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, right, that was so fun. Actually,
That
it's a
was so
pity. It's a
fun.
pity we've
I
come to
feel
the
like I
end.
talked too much. Oh my goodness.
No, no, you didn't talk too much. You talked just the right amount.
Thank you. Thank you so, so, so much for having me. I literally, I've missed you. It's so good to catch up and have a chat and see your face. And thank you so much for thinking of me.
Yeah, it's so lovely that you are, willing to do this with me, and I feel like my heart is all warm. I can feel, yeah,
Oh,
I can feel it right now. I hope everybody's
good.
listening to this episode can feel the warmth extended from Aisha's
Yes,
stories.
lots of love, lots of good vibes, prayers, duas, always. You need to keep your life happy, because the world is so miserable. Your own
Mm-hmm.
little world has to be like so happy.
Yeah, at least our world has to be happy, even though yeah.
Exactly. You need to be so precious and protect that, because that's all you've got. Like, the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the world doesn't care. Not to be so bad in the end, but yeah.
Yeah, so thank you to those who stick around. So with that, Aisha and I, we are signing out. Goodbye.
Bye.